free agency starts later today, and the rumors surrounding this Miami Heat basketball team are continuing to percolate. We had a busy weekend around the Heat squad. They re-signed Davion Mitchell to a 2-year deal. Duncan Robinson exercised his ETO to become an unrestricted free agent, which we'll talk about him quite a bit on this episode. But make sure you are subscribed and make sure you join us later because I'll be going live on the channel for NBA free agency. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel and turn on your notifications so you don't miss when we go live. But also when the Heat will make moves in free agency, whether they're trading players away, signing a player, we will have you updated with a video. So subscribe and don't miss a thing. I actually do want to start the conversation of today's show with Duncan Robinson because he is what really kind of started the snowball effect of what Miami could do this week in free agency. Because after they signed Davion Mitchell, they had max 15 players on standard contract deals, which means the only way they were going to make moves is if they traded a player, waived a player, and then freed up a roster spot to go make a move. Well, Duncan Robinson did not get waived, but he did use that ETO, bypassing $9.9 million in guaranteed contracts. And remember, if he stayed with that and picked up that option, he would have then had the ability to make $19.8 million this year if the Heat kept him on the roster past July 8th. But they could have waived him. He could have been an unrestricted free agent after that being waived, but picked up 9.9. But now he gets a head start on free agency by opting out. And Shams did say that the Robinson decision does not mean he will not return to Miami. He could re-sign on a long-term deal with the Heat or maybe get a bigger contract from a different team. Sign-in trades are also an option as well once free agency starts later on this Monday. And I'm a little shocked, I will be honest, because I thought Duncan was going to really just hold in and see what happens. Because if he picked up his team the option at 9.9 mil, and the Heat waived him, well, then he would still at least get guaranteed money and then still another contract in free agency. Or maybe he gets traded and that team keeps his contract. But him foregoing all guaranteed money stunned me a little bit. And it now saves Miami that full $19.8 million that he could have been under the books on. And it gets underneath the luxury tax for the Heat, allowing them to go in a lot of different options the rest of this offseason. I mean, we're talking about a top 3 shooter in Miami Heat basketball history. There's no else to put it. He's like the all-time leader in three-pointers made. You see the percentages outside of that weird down year in 22-23. He has been a staple for this Miami Heat organization. He's arguably the most chemistry bonded player with Bam Adebayo. Those two guys work extremely well together in dribble handoffs in the pick and roll. And we saw Duncan improve his playmaking a little bit this past season. And I'll say this, he's one of the best playmakers on the team. He is a really good passer. So I would understand why people would want Duncan Robinson to return to Miami on a long-term deal. Let me know your thoughts, though. Do you want to bring Duncan back to the 305? Make the call for me. Type Y if you do. Type N if you don't. Let me know your thoughts down below. I'm a little sketched about it. I am. And, everything should tell me, hey, if Miami could stay underneath the luxury tax and bring back Duncan Robinson, they should probably do so. And I understand that line of thinking. I really do. But I'm thinking a little bit of a bigger picture here, which I'll explain here in just a second. But this note from Barry Jackson after the news yesterday makes a lot of sense, right? They go from over the tax line, but underneath the first apron by $8 million, and then down to $12 million underneath the tax line. So what actually could happen is they could sign Duncan back to a $10 million AAV deal, so he gets that guaranteed money he would have gotten if he picked up, but he gets 3 years, $30 million from Miami. Miami is able to stay underneath the luxury tax. It's probably a really good thing for Miami. But what it does also do is give the Heat a lot of flexibility in potentially signing someone to the mid-level exception, which is a $14 million deal. So you could go out and sign a free agent now, as we currently sit with the roster construction, to a 3-year, $42 million deal, which is almost as big as a contract as you'll see handed out this free agency period if it's not a sign and trade. And this is where my thoughts on the matter come to a conclusion. Duncan has been awesome in Miami. And I do understand the Heat need shooting. But I would rather not re-sign Duncan, use the full non-taxpayer mid-level, which is that $14 million salary, and bring in a legit free agent. There's not that many out there, so I would pick and choose my spots carefully in that matter. But there are a couple guys out there that I would very much be open to giving a 3 for $42 million deal, and you wouldn't be able to do that if you ultimately brought back Duncan Robinson or he picked up that team or the option for $9.9 million. One example of a free agent to the Heat could be targeting is Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I've been very open about Miami, or at least I wanting Miami to go after him because he is someone that I view as not a unbelievable game changer, but someone that can thrive in Heat culture and be terrific off of the bench or even in that starting role for the Heat. And John Krasinski, who is a reporter for The Athletic, who covers the Timberwolves, reported that the Hawks, Bucks, Clippers, Pistons, and Heat are among teams that are going to be in the hunt for Nickeil Alexander-Walker. And we did hear that the Hawks and Pistons were the two front runners, but the Bucks, Clippers, and Heat being added into the kind of NAW sweepstakes was a little bit new on an early Monday afternoon. And I want him in Miami, man. He would provide so much to this Heat team. Is he as good as a shooter as Duncan Robinson? No. But he has proven over the last 3 seasons in a very limited role, he is as, trustable, if you will, as a three-point shooter as you'll find. He struggled early in his career when he was in New Orleans, but then ever getting a reduced role off the bench in Minnesota, you see the numbers. 38, 39, 38 in 3 consecutive seasons. He's not a player that is going to go out and give you 10 on every single night, but he is an excellent complementary piece coming off the bench as a shooter off the catch, someone who is an excellent defender. He was trusted to defend SGA and Jalen Williams in that Timberwolves OKC Thunder series, and he does an excellent job at it because he's long, he's aggressive, he's 6'6". He would be awesome to pair up next to Tyler Hero. He's a player I've kept my eye on for a very long time. And I actually, fun fact, and this is why you need to subscribe to the channel, is that in my perfect Heat free agency plan video that I did a couple days after the season, I had the Heat trading for Kevin Durant and then using the tax or the non-taxpayer mid-level to sign Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Now, we didn't get Kevin Durant, but maybe you can get NAW. But this is why you subscribe, because we were on this a while ago, and when the Heat make moves, we will have you covered. Now, if you do sign Nickeil Alexander-Walker to the full non-taxpayer mid-level, I do get a little bit concerned about the shooting. And I said that a couple minutes ago. If Duncan is not on the roster, where does your floor spacing off the bench come from? Because he is your main shooter. And as it currently sits, this Heat team off the bench doesn't really have a lot of shooters. Let's just say they start Kasper Siakachonis. And as the roster is currently assembled, it's Yak, Hero, Wiggins, Bam, and Ware's your starting 5. Well, off the bench, your lead guys will be Davion Mitchell, Haywood Highsmith, Hillel Larson, Jaime Jaquez, and Nikola Jovic. Jovic can shoot it. Davion shot it well, but they're not floor spacers. They are capable three-point shooters, but they do not have a gravitational pull from opposing defenses that's like, we have to really pay attention to him. We can't sag off of him. We cannot let him come off of a curl or play drop coverage in a pick and roll because he will light us up from 3. The only players that you can say consistently give that threat to opposing defenses at this stage is Duncan and Tyler. So you're replacing Duncan, potentially, or letting him go. Well, then that gets a little bit sketchy, and it's why I think shooting is going to have to be a big thing for Miami, whether they trade Rozier, Wiggins, or other players to where they need to get shooting in return or free up enough space to where they could sign a shooter, maybe like a Luke Kennard type beat. But there isn't a lot of floor spacing guys on this group right now. To round out today's show, I do want to do a brief Jonathan Kaminga update because he has been one of the players linked to Miami the most ever since the Kevin Durant trade ultimately did not happen. And 5 Reasons Sports on Saturday, June 28th, after the Davion Mitchell re-signing, reported that the Heat's pursuit of Kuminga has been overstated, at least at this time, signifying that maybe the Heat's interest in Kuminga isn't that big, at least as of right now. And Barry Jackson double confirmed this, saying that this is true. There is no active pursuit over Jonathan Kuminga at this point. There is also a report from Anthony Chang of the Miami Herald that there is no free agent meeting scheduled between the Heat and Kuminga. We know Miami does like to have a lot of meetings to kind of get to know these free agents even more, despite the talent, the highlights of the whole 9 yards. This is a player I do expect Miami to be linked to and maybe register interest as the week goes on here in the first week of free agency. But at least as of this weekend, there isn't crazy pursuit from Miami's side. But if you were the GM of the Heat, would you want to target Jonathan Kuminga in a sign and trade in this free agency class? Type S if you would sign, type P if you would pass. I have like gradually shifted. I started off when the first Kaminga report came out. I was like, keep him away. I'm good. I don't want it. I'm kind of all in on the deal now. The guy's 22 years old. Yeah, he is not the best team defender, and he takes a weird shot. Like his profile isn't that good, but I am all in for a reason, and this is why. Not only if you go with the Kaminga sign and trade are you picking a direction, but you would be able to make a move that allows you to use the full non-taxpayer mid-level as well. Like there is a world where you could do a sign and trade for Kaminga and then also use that non-taxpayer mid-level to go after Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and then all of a sudden you have a really interesting team on your hand. You really do. And then not to say if you do this move for Kaminga, you could then trade Wiggins to the Lakers in some degree to get expiring salary and maybe a draft pick. And now you're really cooking with gas, in my opinion. Is Kaminga the best player in the world? No, but he's a capable athlete. Capable athlete's underselling it. He's really athletic. He's a capable scorer. He isn't a floor spacer, but maybe that Heat developmental and shooting system would be able to get the best out of him. And like I mentioned, the part of the flexibility being added, because in this hypothetical where he gets a, like, just to say 3 for an 81 deal, I know that's been floated out there, he's getting paid 27 per season. Well, you have to send out at max 50%, so you can't go more than that of his first year salary to Golden State in a sign and trade. Well, then you do for Kaminga, you do Kyle Anderson and Jaime Jaquez Jr. That comes out to 13. So then your cap hit is just around probably about 12 if you manipulate the contract correctly, which keeps you under the tax as of right now, which would then allow you to use that non-taxpayer mid-level to go into the tax and make that signing. You ship out, hypothetically, in this sign and trade deal, Kyle Anderson, Jaquez, you bring in Kuminga, you bring in another guy that's relatively sized contract. Let's just say it's Nickeil Alexander-Walker. You bring in Kuminga and NAW and replace Jaquez and Kyle Anderson. Well, folks, that's one heck of an interesting roster there. Not to mention if you do move off of Andrew Wiggins then. Like you just have so much ability to get more athletic, more young, and create more of an identity of, like, we are going to be this young team. We do have a lot of draft picks going up here in the future. Like, there is a lot of reasons, in my opinion, why I am growing on a potential Jonathan Kuminga sign and trade. Do I think he's going to be a game-changing, like, oh my God, we're going to win the title now? No, absolutely not. You're just picking a direction. And for the people that say, well, now you won't have cap space for 2026, I'll counterpoint, is there really going to be anyone available? The Luka Doncic pipe dream is nothing but a pipe dream at this point. So if that's just the case, then yeah, I'm fine kind of just going full youth. We'll build through the draft, make trades, and get more assets in return. That'll do it for this episode. As I mentioned, if the Heat make any move, we will have you covered on Twitter before we make the content on YouTube. So follow me on Twitter at Nic_Rohloff for the best coverage on the Heat.